think we I think we
Oh, he
are
says, "Are you
ready.
late to your own stream?" Hold on. Just hang on, mad Canadian.
Hey, what's up, everyone? How's it going? We're doing another lesson today, this time with Steve North, longtime dojo member. Steve, it's great to have you on for a lesson.
Hey, all. Great to be here. Thanks, Kostya, for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to say, I feel like I remember seeing your games last year, and you're one of the players that's definitely like very clearly improved. I feel like just watching your games occasionally, like blitz, rapid events, it's like totally different than the player you started out. So
Thanks.
awesome to have you improving.
Well, the
So
dojo's been great. I have 3 or 4 training partners. I met them all at the dojo. It's just been, anyway, yeah, wouldn't be possible without this. So thanks.
yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Um, well, for today's lesson, we'll be doing some game analysis and just kind of briefly talking about, let's say your chess and how to improve. I do want to ask you, like, how do you mainly work on chess these days?
Okay. Well, at this point, I would say that first of all, thanks in part to you, or you and several other people suggest that at least an hour of puzzles a day. I believe you said 2, which is satanic in my opinion. But I do at least an hour of puzzles a day, and that's made a real difference. So um, that's one thing. Another thing is playing at least 30-minute 30-0 games, which are a little longer than 15-5. I can take longer thinks. What was it called? Going into the tank. I can go into the tank
Hmm.
more on 30 zeros, which
Yeah.
I need to times. So for me, that 30 zeros work better, and anything shorter than that, like 10-0 is all. That's not serious. That's just eating potato chips. Um, so and then analyzing those games, and then picking several of those games to analyze and going over them once a week with my coach Jason Stone King, who's done a lot to help me. And so we analyze those, and he reminds me to centralize my rooks. Um,
I know
and
Jason, by the way. He's a good friend of mine. Shout out to
Oh,
Jason.
really? Oh, good. No, I knew we knew David. I didn't know that. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
I know him
super
from
helpful.
chess.com days, and I stayed with him in
Oh,
Paris for a couple days, which was awesome. So
fun.
yeah, super nice guy.
And Jesse recommended him to me, so I get that's how I found him. So I wouldn't have found him without the dojo either. So I didn't know all you guys. And the only other thing that I'm not doing right now, because of the puzzles and because of my game approach, which we can talk about, which this is related, absolutely the game I submitted is related to that, is I'm not doing books right now, but I've got 3 sitting right there. So I'm looking forward to getting back to them, but it just seems like my plate is kind of full between just working on my game composure, which we can talk about a little, which is related to this, and then the puzzles, and then just analyzing my own games, my own mistakes. Oh, I'm sorry, and working with my training partners, which I do several times a week. So we play each other for practice, do puzzles. Anyway, yada yada. You get the idea. So enough said.
No, that's great. I mean, I think working with training partners is I was just thinking about different training methods today. I think that's one of the best, period. Just like analyzing positions with another human being, just like hearing their ideas, presenting your own ideas. Both of you guys are, tactics checking the position to see if you're missing anything concrete. I think that's one of the
Yep.
best ways to train, period. What
And
books
30,
do you
oh,
have on your desk? I'm just curious.
and 30-0, just by the way, 30-0 is, those games are, I put a lot of pressure on myself. Who is it? I don't know. Henricum is his name. Henry is his name, but Henricum was really good. And I practiced with him just a couple times. His headline in his chess little bio was "Chess is hard." And that's what I've learned I had my fun when I was in 1100, right? Playing up, like getting up above my level. There's
Yeah.
no way around it. Chess is just hard. Okay, here are the books. They were propping up my
Oh, I see.
iPad. So, hold on. Okay. Comprehensive Chess Endings by Aberbach, the one on pawns.
Okay,
An hour a page, I would say. I'm not exactly mighty at this.
that
My
one
favorite right
seems
now,
tough.
Small Steps to Giant Improvement, Sam
Nice,
Shanklin.
great book.
This is what has kind of tangled me up the last couple months because I've suddenly realized I need to understand what pawns, how important pawns are. So one thing that it's kind of like, my rating really hasn't moved in a month and a half. I'm trying to be patient, and I hope that it's just a matter of time. It feels like it is. I used to play golf when I was a corporate schmuck, and it doesn't even do it justice. But when your instructor changes your grip, you play worse for weeks, right? You're going to be better in the long run because you have this bad habit, right? So when my cheat sheet now is every move I start with pawn structure. Maybe nothing's changed, so it's quick, but pawn structure can change for all kinds of reasons, right? Pawns don't have to move. Someone puts a bishop behind it. And so I start with like the skeleton of the board, which I think I've heard people call the pawns. And that's the first thing I do. That's a totally different way to play chess. I forget to do it. So really, I'm just like going back and, okay, well, you got pretty good there, Steve, and now we're going to go back and change your golf grip. So, which is what this Small Steps to Giant Improvement is about, and then Winning Chess Endings by Yasser Seligman.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I really like that pawn book by Sam.
Amazing. Yeah. I think the Aberbach book's a little beyond me, by the way. So you asked what was in the pile.
Steve North more than you.
I might not get to that for a year. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I would recommend just avoiding it. I think it's just tough, and I think there's a lot more. If I understand, the types of examples that are in those books, which are very complicated, I think there are just much more practical ways of studying pawn endgames, much more practical material.
Well, the issue is that there's a fellow, I don't know if he's still there at St. Louis Chess Club. Oh gosh, anyway. And he described the difference between corresponding squares and opposition. And corresponding squares made a lot more sense to me. I don't know if it's because I'm in a calculus nut or whatever. And this book starts from page 1 with corresponding squares. So I've only done like 30 pages in the book, but it made more sense to me than the Silman book. Does that make any sense? Or am I just, because Silman talks a lot more about opposition? I don't know, but I'm bad at both. So that's yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, the golden rule for chess books is that if you enjoy reading it, it's the right book. So, totally up to you.
But I agree with you. I haven't touched that book in 2 months, Costa. It's at the bottom. You said what was on the desk. So the other two, I would say, when I get back to it, Sam's book is the one I'm going to finish. I'm about a third of the way through, and that really has made a material difference to how I treat those structural gems. Anyway, yeah. So
awesome. Very cool. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about this game.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your struggle here, and in general, your struggle is against kind of unorthodox opening play and what to do.
Right.
Which I think is a very, very common issue. So we can definitely discuss this at length. Let's play through the first couple of moves. So your opponent starts off with c6, kind of seems like he's intending the Caro.
Correct.
He plays d4, he goes d6. So he's, okay, just moving up pawns. You play c4, I guess, to take some space.
Yep. I'm just gonna, no more pawns will come out. Now I'm gonna castle king side, right? And it just allows me to play the knight in behind the pawn, and he can't play b5, b4 and get at my knight, which I've seen, the knight is defending e4. So it can be a pretty solid setup. I'm not trying to get greedy here, right? So.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's great. So
okay, so far so good. Okay.
Yeah, then he goes knight f d7, and I take it that.
Like, all right. There's a trick somewhere. He's rated 14 something. So.
Mm-hmm. Now you're saying there
is a trick. Yeah.
You're saying there is a trick.
I think so. You can tell me, but.
Because to me it just looks like he's moving a piece backwards, and like moving it for the second time in the opening, which is usually not good, and blocking like 3 of his other pieces. Actually,
Yeah,
four
yeah.
if you count the rook.
I'm happy so far, but later on, and this is where I didn't calm down and take a 5 minute tank, because one of the problems I have with these openings is I get behind on time right away. If this is a classic game, I'm going to sit here for 10 minutes right now, right? But it's a 30-0 with no increment. I'm already, at one point he had taken 10 minutes and I had taken 22, right? So if he plays knight a6 here, he has two knights focused on c5. I didn't recognize that at this point, but I recognized it soon, and it does become a threat at some point. So I think, but that was a weird thing about the position.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely a lot to talk about here. I like that you play knight f3 quickly. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
my experience is like when someone's doing something weird in the opening, you have to judge whether this is potentially dangerous or it's kind of nonsense and you can do whatever you want.
yeah.
I would say the way you kind of judge that is, let's say looking for like tactical opportunities. Like if black plays some kind of, let's say, more active move, knight to g4, um, I would also be very skeptical that this could possibly work because he's just like attacking with one knight. But I'm going to be a
Right.
little bit more careful about this one, just making sure I don't fall into like anything on the dark squares, any like weird queen b6 tactics, compared to knight
That's a good one.
fd7,
Yep.
which, yeah, just optically looks like, okay, they're
Right. Like
undeveloping.
let's look at his possible moves now. Pawns, right? And the two knights. Those are the only pieces that can move next time. So, and analyzing black's position is pretty easy right now, right?
Yeah,
So,
I would say logically, right, any developing move is going to be good
right.
here for white.
So
So knight f3.
I've not committed a chess crime yet, but kudos to my coach. How many times has he said to me, Steve, when you get this weird stuff, just do this, play the bishop out to wherever. If you want the queen free, then just play it to bishop d2, bishop e2, and castle.
Right.
That's it. Against weird openings, you just castle and then you play chess, right? And I didn't do that. So yeah, Jason, I'm terrible. Anyways, but let's go on anyway. So
Yeah, so e6. Okay, another pawn move. And now when black is putting this many pawns on the sixth rank, I guess what we should be thinking is they're playing a kind of like hedgehog hippopotamus style, which basically just
okay, what
means
does that
putting.
mean? Yeah.
So the hedgehog is actually very like respectable setup. You often get it in the Sicilian. Let me just make some random moves. I know you play the Najdorf, so actually
Oh yeah.
you actually play this style of game already. So this is the hedgehog structure specifically, like pawns on b6 and e6, and then you
Okay.
kind of create this like barrier on the sixth rank, similar to like
Right.
a hedgehog and its spikes. I mean, it's actually very decent setup for black because all the pieces
There
get
you go.
reasonable squares, and your rook gets the c file, and you're controlling the center. You have your pawn breaks in the future. Just very reliable.
Right.
The hippo is similar,
Oh,
but
that I know. Go ahead.
different.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, all good. This hippo is
Yeah.
basically
Nice to the middle, the double
right,
modern fianchetto.
something like this,
This is
for
up there with
example.
the Stafford in my book, everybody. Yeah.
Wow,
Good blitz opening, but
it is. I mean, actually, a lot of blitz players, very high level, will play this setup.
right.
You can
In
see how it's
blitz.
similar. It's like just trying to create this barricade. Yeah, very few players play this one in classical.
Right.
But the big difference is that black hasn't traded off c5 for d4. And
Okay.
so because of that, black has less space in the position. And here when black is pushing c5, white is often meeting that with d5, like taking space and shutting down bishop on b7.
Right.
So, yeah, so when I see your opening, to me, this just looks like a weird hippo. Like a hippo is already not the best setup, and now black is like blocking his knight. So yeah, I would be feeling very confident in your shoes. And probably most natural move is like bishop e2 castles, like your coach says. Just like get your king castle, your rook can get to e1 very quickly, and then you can kind of wait where to develop this bishop. Because who knows, maybe it goes to e3, maybe f4, maybe g5 at some point. you
Right.
might have a choice. But honestly, not a big deal. So bishop f4, knight a6. Okay, then we play a3.
Okay.
So this is the
Well,
move,
here's
yeah.
this. Yeah, here's this situation where I didn't know if this is something to worry about. Like if he pushes this pawn, and I wish I'd had. We don't have the clocks up, but I'm already down, and this is where the game begins to go sideways because I'm worried he has some kind of dastardly plan with the queen and all the knights, and he just got a lot of forces over here all of a sudden. So I decided to suppress the knight, but probably that's a mistake. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I have your game open. You're still fine. You've only used like a minute at this point.
Oh, okay. So it's
Yeah.
just psychological, right? There you go.
I think so. Actually, we can talk about this because I was looking like through some of your other games and I noticed like we're missing a lot of, let's say, simple tactics that I think you would solve in a puzzle format very quickly, and also blundering a bit with lots of time on our clock. Like I'll show you some examples where you have plenty of time, but just moving too quickly and blundering because of it.
Okay.
So this is just something uh, to keep in mind, kind of more like general
Ugh.
um, chess skill, and not just in rapid, but like in classical as well. This can happen. Um, so okay, you play this move a3. I understand the logic behind it, like you're playing for b4, but let's just analyze what exactly we're afraid of here. Let's say white plays the move bishop e2, and you're mentioning c5 and queen a5. We can analyze any one of these moves. Which one is, let's say, scarier to you?
Well, now that I'm not psyched out, neither. Queen a5, I castle,
Sure.
right? I guess if he plays bishop, if he pushes c5, I haven't analyzed it in depth, but it certainly isn't wrong to just play d5.
Yeah, I would say in most cases, like d5 is not just a good move, but often the best move, just taking
Right.
space. Definitely not
Rocks.
always. There are many exceptions, but yeah, this one kind of really um, brings you down. And essentially, yeah, we're just taking space with this move. And now the knights actually, they look kind of not so
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
right? Like
How
just
come I
getting
didn't play
blocked.
this? What's wrong with me? Anyway, sorry. Seth is in the chat. This is where the self-loathing comes in. That was, I think, Seth's thing one day. Anyway,
Well,
yeah.
someone
So
said
what's up?
seeing ghosts, and I think that's a pretty typical thing.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's this is definitely one of many chess spectrums, but there's a spectrum of like um let's say not paying attention to the opponent and not seeing their ideas
Yeah.
versus seeing too many ghosts and thinking that yeah, the opponent always has a trick or something bad is going to happen. And both are bad, right? You kind of want to be very balanced and objective. You want to evaluate the opponent's ideas based on whether objectively they actually pose you
Right.
any harm.
This is
Um,
also something I'm. Oh, go ahead. No.
no, I was just gonna go on. Why don't you go?
Well, this is also something I'm working on with my coach. Sorry, they're mowing outside. I don't know if that's coming through, but that I am working on, like, the top of my cheat sheet now. It's only 4 lines, and the top sheet says, "Do your job every move."
Hmm.
So, what was that movie with Denzel Washington, Friday Night Lights? And the kid loves football and he has a lot of fun. And Denzel explains to him, "We're going to be really good." And finally, the kid gets it. And Denzel says, "How much fun is football?" And he says, "Zero fun, sir." So, chess is really rewarding. It's wonderful to play fascinating moves and all that. But I think for me to be good, the idea of having fun had to go out the window. So I need to do my job every move. And the good news is, even after analyzing this game, writing the email to you, I played 2 games this morning. I did my job. There were no blunders. One of them played a Scandi, my favorite, right up there with the, yeah, anyway. And I saw a tactic and won a piece and won the game. I won both games. So I'm hopeful that I can get over my, I don't know, what is it like? Did I say this in the email that when I get to play, like the other game I included was a game that EM Rosenberg was nice enough to play against me. He's an NM and heard me kvetching about the Kero on that stream that Drew and I did, and he offered to play a practice game with me to kind of show me how he played it, and I played very well. But there, it's like I feel like I have such respect. He has respect for the game. We're playing well-established lines. We're in book for 10 moves. I feel like I'm playing tennis. I don't mean to overstate it, but like at Wimbledon, right? On a beautiful grass court. And then I get these openings and I feel like I'm playing on blacktop with grass growing up in between with the chain link net. And like, I just, when people play the Stafford against me, I beat it most of the time. I don't enjoy it. If I could resign and not lose points, I would just move on. Like, you're playing the Stafford. Okay. Bye, right? I'm going to go. So you can hear from my voice going up that I just get agitated by that stuff. So I'm agitated at this point. So I have to get over that. I don't know how other than to be aware of it in practice. Okay.
Yeah, no, you bring up
Oh,
some really interesting points. It's like, well, I think it's a good instinct to have when your opponent is playing an opening that you know is dubious or you really believe it. There should be a desire to punish it. I think that's good chess.
okay.
Because if what they are playing truly is bad, then there probably is a way to exploit it. Now, thing is that there are different ways to exploit an opening. Some openings are like tactically bad. You just have a way to get the initiative right from the opening, and then you have a very strong attack. Other openings like this one, I would say more strategically bad, where it's going to be very hard for black to fight for equal space in the center. So you're going to have more space, pieces are going to be better placed. But of course, we have to recognize that, let's say, having an advantage in chess or small advantage is usually not enough to win the game. So after securing the advantage, you still have to play well in order to convert. It's not like whoever gets the advantage from the opening just wins, all the time. You actually have to improve your position. Otherwise, the opponent can equalize.
Right.
So that might help maybe, let's say, tempering expectations a bit. Like, just because the opponent plays a bad opening doesn't mean you have to crush them right from the opening. It just means you're probably going to get a good position. But from there, you still, of course, have to use your general chess understanding, your ability to make good plans, improve your position, find tactical ideas, combinations, pretty much
Right.
everything that the game is about.
But I'm
Um,
guessing it did in this position. I saw ghosts, and the right thing to do is to say, "Good, just play the white bishop out in castle. Follow Jason's advice. Just get your rook." Jason just bangs home he didn't make this up, right? So does Barakobian. When I started out watching St. Louis Chess Club videos, like, you're not developed until your rooks are connected.
mhm.
So Queen C2, Bishop E2, castle, Queen C2, move the rook on A1 to wherever you think makes sense at the time, somewhere in the middle, and you'll be developed and you'll have a great position. And the hilarious thing, well, we'll see later. I made some hopefully funny yet filled with self-loathing notes about my rooks on the H file. My rooks create destruction in positions like this when they're in the middle. So, hopefully this will be the last time I ever fall for put my two rooks on the open H file, and they'll point at nothing for the rest of the game. So we will see anyway. But
I mean, it can be good, but yeah, I think in general, like, a nice central strategy is correct. Another way to think about it is like, as white, you've done nothing wrong. You're controlling the center, developing your pieces. Once you start playing like a3, b4, now you are kind of starting to break some opening principles, because these moves aren't really developing. They're more space grabbing moves, and very
right.
good moves to make once the king is just castled kingside. So
Was I on
we
drugs? I
get
mean, I don't even drink, but was I on drugs? And then I end up castling queenside. For those of you, the spoiler alert is
right.
I don't castle kingside. That's insane. Anyway, yeah, I'm just tilted. I don't know. It's bizarre for me to look at this now and say, here's a quiz. Which way should white castle in this position? Into the vacuous open air on the queen side or to safety? Anyway, all right. Sorry. Wow. All right. That's embarrassing.
Yeah,
Why
no,
did I
we
pick this
got
game?
we got provoked a little bit. We got provoked.
Oh, right. The night thing. Oh, yeah. Another chess crime. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like you're saying, kingside castles in your position is still fantastic. Huge advantage.
Right. Right.
Just tons and tons of space, and once you start pushing your pawns forward, you're just gonna run your opponent
Four
out of
flat
squares.
pawns. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we could talk about the different decisions here. Like for example, you mentioned in
Mm,
your notes, bishop e3
mm,
definitely better, just like keeping your bishop on the board, making
mm,
this knight on h5 look pretty
mm,
bad. Um, that said, like you do trade the bishop for something, like the open file I think is quite useful
mm.
here. It just becomes
No, it is.
very sharp position.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
And
now I have to castle queenside. And this guy, by the way, the other thing which probably other people are familiar with, I don't think, maybe, well, tell me if you think this is seeing a ghost, but this guy's played this 1.5 million times, right? Like this is what he does. So his goal is to get you to castle queenside, take all this space. And then the way he attacked me on the queen side, he had some very clever moves. I got the feeling it's not the first time he's done this to, he's played this approach, right? And it's the first time I have. So there you go, right? I'm trying to innovate, which is I'm not close to good enough to do that. So anyway.
that's possible. I don't know. It's a pretty weird structure, but I can't really speak for your opponent. It did seem like he was playing pretty quickly, so the moves I
Yeah.
guess were coming naturally. Okay, you mentioned something interesting that you feel like you have to castle in this position. Let me just offer this move. Let's say we just play bishop to d3. So the strategy here is that we're just fighting on the light squares. And we do have some clear targets on this diagonal, and so we're just lining
Nice.
up
Yep. Yep.
bishop and the queen. I mean,
Yep.
I would say that honestly, it's definitely not too late to castle kingside. It is kind of changing your mind a little bit, but well, yeah, just because you have an open H file, like you said, doesn't mean you have to use it. You can also put your rooks on the E file, especially once black has played this move F5 and it's like kind of left their E6 pawn behind. Now you actually do have some really clear targets on the E file.
Nice. Okay.
And I would say your
And
position here still looks really nice.
yep. And when I played a practice game with Halvard, I remember, and he talked to me afterwards about how crazy it drove him that I was not castling either way, like this position here. And he said it was driving him nuts. So, I was like, oh, I'll remember that because driving your opponent crazy is great, right? So just he doesn't have any attack on my king, right? So just leave it, right? And by the way, I did want to,
Yeah.
for those people who don't have training partners, one really good thing about that I learned is I'm really hard on myself, and chess is really stressful for me. And I PTSD, as most people, most of everybody knows at the dojo. And working with training partners is just so great because, especially after a couple sessions together, no, you're having fun. Like blunders aren't a big deal. You're trying stuff you haven't tried before, and you're on the same team, right? You're practicing together. It's not adversarial.
Right.
And chess is such a lonely sport, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Losing classical games that you spend 3 hours on and things like that. That it's just nice to have that environment where you're playing chess and it's not at all the same way you're feeling when you're playing a 30-0 against, in a tournament. So okay. Now,
Yeah. Although I would try to advise you to let's say have some a bit more positive mindset when you're playing a 30-minute game. Like I understand why it's stressful and I feel a lot of the same stress, but at the same time, like especially when we're playing online, you didn't have to like travel for a tournament or like book a flight and all this stuff. I mean, any online game is just like an opportunity to just learn a little bit more about a middle game position. It's like it's all training. Even if you don't know the opponent, even if you lose like a couple rating points at the end of it, it's just an opportunity to like practice your skills and kind of
yeah.
enhance your knowledge.
Well, just to be fully candid, I'm feeling I would be lying if I didn't even lying by omission. I'm feeling a lot of pressure right now. My rating, just internally, just me. No one else cares, right? I mean, my friends are my friends, and people are supportive, and people have been complimentary about my games, like you were. Thank you. But I'm feeling real pressure to get my rating back up above 1400. It was 1430 40 days ago, and now it's 1340. And so I've lost 100 points. And every time I start a third, I can pretend, I can say all the mantras I want, but it's on my mind that I want to get my rating back up. So, it can be silly, it can be whatever, but it's real, right? So that's part of the issue. I play better on Lichess because I don't have that pressure. It's so weird. This is a stupid game and none of us should play it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I know a lot of people struggle with this. I mean, I made a whole video about ratings, and
Yeah.
what to think about them. Um, yeah, I think this would be something to really reflect on because it's the same game, it's the same chessboard. Regardless of like what site or what rating you have, like it's all the same.
Right.
Um, but I know people get really focused on the rating, and I guess somehow you need to. It's not that I'm asking you to not care about your rating. I'm asking you to kind of think about your your long-term rating a little bit more.
Right. Right.
Like whether you win a couple games and gain 40 points or lose a couple games, gain 40 points, like a lot of times that's just up to like total chance. Every time you play a game, there's going to be a range. Like I'm sure you felt that sometimes you play like at a much higher level and sometimes you play at a much lower level. And
I
that
feel
that's
that like
called form.
puzzles. It's bizarre,
Yeah.
right? You can see it instantly. Like you tune up the puzzles in the morning and you're killing it, and the next day you can't solve a puzzle to save your life. Is it the same guy? Right? It's bizarre. So it's
Yeah.
one of those things. Yeah. No, obviously even more so in games, which are longer. And
I think it's worse in games, yeah, because it's also
oh,
depending on your opponent. Like they might be having a good day, or maybe you just walked into an opening that they've been studying a lot and they're very comfortable. Or it can get even worse. Like maybe someone else played the exact same opening against them yesterday, and they already like looked at it in detail, and now
well,
their
that's a
knowledge
great
is
point.
like super fresh for you today. Like you just don't
That's a
know, like
great
on a
point.
day-to-day basis.
You could just run into a buzz saw. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
That's
guess
great advice.
the idea is like, long term, as long as you're building good chess habits and just reviewing your games, trying to learn something from each game, reflecting on your games like you're doing here, over time, this kind of gets caked in as like experience. And then,
Oh, it's good. Well put. Yeah. Yeah. Caked in.
yeah,
That's cool.
and one day
Just
you
like the
just like feel like you're just like a much stronger player than before. I think you'll feel like
right.
a
Well,
very
that's
concrete
how I went
difference.
from 1100 to 1400, right? And 1400 when I well, no, we didn't. Let's not talk about rating. What I wanted to say before is I didn't mean to be like an ogre about chess. Like what's unsaid in the top line of my cheat sheet, do your job every move, is that what happens on that? Like there was a game yesterday where he was kind of pawn storming on the king side when he wasn't castled, and I was watching that. I'm very careful with pawns now after losing a classic match to b4. That's etched in my memory forever. Anyway, so I'm very careful about that, and I had retreat squares, and indeed he played f5, and suddenly I looked at it and I thought about this move for I probably took 7 or 8 minutes in a 30-0, and I realized that I had bishop takes pawn, and if he takes, then I fork queen and knight. And I'm not trying to, I'm just saying that is the joy, that is a big part of the joy of chess to me, right? Like finding beautiful, exquisite moves like that. It doesn't have, sometimes it can be a pawn move, right? That like, oh, I'll just destroy him by pushing this pawn forward and the game's over. It doesn't have to be a double fork or whatever, right? So I get a lot of joy out of chess. It's not like I'm saying, oh, I gotta win and I hate this game. So, but that's where the joy comes from. You do your job every move, and it's amazing the little treasures that you find, right?
Yeah.
So,
Now, when you're saying do your job, what does that mean exactly?
oh, it means sorry, just want to make sure I get it right. So the next 3 lines of my cheat sheet are start with the pawns, my new habit of reviewing the skeleton. So sometimes a piece move doesn't change the board that much, but I don't think I can take that for granted, at least at my level. So I review the entire board every move if I'm doing my job.
Hmm.
Right now, sometimes after I played a3, he didn't really have to do a big review, right? But if someone plays, when he pushed F5, the bishop has access now, right? Okay. And then candidate and calculate is the second one. So candidate moves in calculation and then double check, which is a way for me to avoid blunders. In classical games, it's triple check,
Hmm.
right? I just make absolutely sure I haven't missed anything.
And
And I don't,
what does
these are
double
all
check
here,
mean?
double check my move. Make sure I haven't, when I push my D pawn, I've weakened my E pawn. Are there any tactics that can you then double attack it with a knight and a bishop and win a piece or something like that, right? So
Hmm.
just double check what I imagine the board to look like after this move, right? So,
Gotcha. Okay,
and I
cool.
don't, the reason this is my cheat sheet is because I forget to do each of these things right now, and it needs to what you were talking about, the blunders and things like that. And it's a very different way from the way I was playing chess 2 months ago. So it's a
Yeah.
new paradigm's not the right word, but close enough. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
New
right.
tech. Yeah, yeah.
I think it is good. I think for me, many other players, uh, every move we do have like an internalized cheat sheet. I would say it starts most often with the tactics. So as soon as someone makes a move, we quickly check like, did this just hang something, or did this blunder something, or is there any potential for a tactic here? And then if there is, then you kind of go into your calculation mode, like very forcing concrete play. Okay, I want to play here. They have to do this or recapture this, and you start analyzing. Um, so maybe the one suggestion I would make would be to start with the concrete side, and then if you don't notice anything tactical, like the move didn't hang anything, then go into your kind of more strategic uh, checklist of like evaluating the pawn structure, trying to understand where your pieces are supposed to go.
Oh, really? So you don't start with the pawns? Okay. When I said, well, here, so this is interesting. The reason I said start with the pawns is because I would skip that and just do the pieces, and then I
Hmm.
would miss stuff. So the reason why I said start with the pawns is, Steve, you don't even get to look at the pieces until you've just, and it's usually very quick. There's not in White's pawn structure, like what am I going to look at right now? Right there, there's one point of contact, so I have to look at the E and F file, right? But after, when I say start with the pawns, what's not written there is then analyze the pieces. So do what you were talking about. Sorry, so that's unspoken because that's baked in. Is that the word, caked in already? Right. So believe me, I love looking at tactics and all that stuff. So that's caked in already. It's the pawn stuff that I was missing. So, and
Okay.
I make a pawn mistake later this game that you'll get to see. I still don't correctly evaluate pawn moves and the unknown impacts, that the
Oh yeah.
unseen impacts that they have. So we'll
Let's
even see
uh
it.
let's go there actually. Let me let me know which one you're referring
A4.
to.
Yep, A4. It's a couple moves away. Boom! Allowing queen B4.
So you give up a big square. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So
And
this is definitely
I'm
like a
not that
blunder
angry
checking.
with myself about this. Like, this is exactly where my game is at, right? You're not talking about pieces or anything like that. Like, I had A3 covered. So this is not a shocking mistake for me. If I'd played the rest of the game well and castled kingside and all that stuff, this would be like, all right, this is an instructive point. You haven't
Hmm.
made this mistake 1,000 times, right? But this is exactly where I'm at. Like, control of a single square on the board given up, flipped up, really made the game hard. I still had chances after this, but that made it much harder. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I would say this is right, just part of blunder checking. It's kind of actually the other side of what I was talking about with like looking for tactics every move, and like kind of blunder checking your opponent's last move. Like, did their last move hang anything? Is there any tactical potential here? Yeah, before making a move, it's really important to, like you said, double, triple check that the opponent doesn't have any immediate tactical ideas. You don't even have to see if the tactic is working. You just have to notice if there's enough of something for your opponent to possibly latch onto, some kind of possible tactic, and then you can be a little bit more concrete about it. Um, that's why, I mean, I'm not sure if this is, well, it's okay, it's hard to do in online chess, but a lot of coaches recommend to write your move down on your score sheet before playing it. I think nowadays it's actually legal in over the board chess,
Oh,
but it
wow.
used to be totally kosher.
Yep.
Because some players would write the move down in order to like gauge a reaction from the opponent. So it would kind of be little gamesmanshipy. So you can't really do that anymore. But I think what players have developed into doing is just kind of mentally committing to a move, saying like, okay, I'm going to play a4, and then really searching for their opponent's ideas, basically treating it like a black to play and win puzzle after the
Exactly.
move a4. Yeah.
Right, right. That could be on my cheat. I mean, that's kind of baked in now. Well, no, I should put it down there because it's not baked in. But what is my opponent's best move? You know, these 2100 Lichess puzzles right now. I got one this morning where it was 3 moves and I get to queen a pawn and I still got the puzzle wrong because there was an intermezzo you had to do. He gets to, you know, skewer your new queen with the king and take it back. And there's counterplay, right, in the puzzles now. And this is this is a much simpler example than that, but I just obviously did not do my job here, which is, yeah, what's black's best move? What are all of black's candidate moves after this? That's part of my job, and I didn't do it. It's just lazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I think you have it exactly right. It's not like your weakness is tactics. I would say your weakness is just not thinking tactically during the game, like on every single move, right?
I would be tempted to say that my weakness is laziness. Like chess is hard. So
Yeah,
just do your job and don't be lazy. Because if you take one move off at the 1400 level, you lose the game. At 1100, you get second chances. Sometimes I get them too, but I had a chance for a tactic where I could, maybe we went by it already, but I could have taken this pawn. He, at some point in the game, I noticed this during the analysis, he takes back with the queen. I
mm,
skewer here, right? So all I win is a pawn, but it becomes a very different game in a hurry, right?
yeah, it's
So,
nice.
yep.
Yeah, I think later on actually you miss a similar
Yep, I
idea
missed
to
another
that.
chance later.
Um,
This was a fun moment, though. This is an example of doing my homework. So in a game where I'm completely beating myself up all the time, right? So here's where, okay, can I take this pawn?
right.
Right? Simple little question.
This
I
was good.
completely understand that he has a fork afterwards, right? Okay, what happens? What is my response to the fork? I don't see any other terribly damaging moves. Bishop here. Regardless, I just retreat the knight back, right? And whether he's played bishop here or queen here, it doesn't matter. I just get the pawn.
Yeah.
And I was a pawn down at the time, and there may be a better move. I think I was already getting pretty low on time here, but that's an example where I did my homework. I looked at this. I looked at this. I wasn't too worried about the rook that hasn't moved. This thing isn't a problem, and I went ahead and did it. So when I do my job, I can play chess.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. Actually, just for interest, I think even here maybe you have other options like bishop c4 also looks good just to keep the knight attacking
Queen.
everything uh, and with a discovered check. So it's really
Wait. How come he can't take the bishop?
oh,
One
rook is
moment.
covering. Rook
Oh,
is
the
covering.
rook, right? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. And I knew that during the game. Like the reason I put that rook on h4 was for that long lateral protection. That was really helping me.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, there you go. That's even better. Damn it, I just retreated.
And then
All
no,
right.
I mean, but
Always
it's good.
retreat.
But it's good that you calculated out. You didn't just get scared of queen c5 and then stop thinking. You actually just analyzed the position objectively. You realized it's working, and you took the pawn. And you can do
Right.
this against players of any level, right? They don't have to be. They could be, 600 points higher rated than you. I would hope that you make the same move because you did your calculation. And let me tell you, players will blunder stuff all the time. Like there's no opponent out there that is immune to blundering. So you will get your chances against players like 3, 4, 5, 600 points higher rated than you. And if you can seize your opportunity, then you can, score huge upsets. So like, yeah, this one, for example, I could see players of lots of different levels blundering the tactic here. I feel like you could have done it already at this moment, but definitely here. Do you remember this one?
Yeah, this is where I can can I take the bishop with the rook? And then when he retakes with the rook, I play bishop c4.
Yeah, very good. So we were talking before the stream a little
This is
bit
just
about.
jumping out at me now. So I was just completely tilted. I was really angry with myself about not castling kingside. So in a way, that's me being easy on myself, because like that's what I know myself. When I get off on the wrong foot, it's really important for me to have a solid opening. I don't play the bong cloud or any of that other stuff. I really just like solid openings. And so that's where the problem started. So obviously I'm tilted. Okay, sorry, that's not what I.
Yeah, no, all good. So yeah, and this is okay, just one of like many examples where I think yeah, you definitely have enough time to see the tactic. Like
I
you
don't
would
see
find
my
it
time. What am I down to?
at this point you're down to 8.5 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm feeling. Unfortunately, it kind of creeps up on me because he had what 18 or something like that
Yeah,
at
he
this
had
point.
more. Yeah.
Right. So but it just unfortunately it's just part. And I try to ignore it. It's fine. It's a very gradual game. You don't get better at anything this hard overnight, right? So I'm better at ignoring the clock now. I tried putting tape over it at one point. That really didn't work. And so it's just something where like until I'm under 10 minutes, I'm pretty good at ignoring the clock. But the funny thing is, I will tell you that of my 30-0 games, of my last 100 games, 49 have been lost due to blunders and mistakes. One has been lost to time, maybe two. Like it's really absurd, right? What I'm worried about. Why don't we just worry about playing well? And the clock doesn't matter. You play well, the game will be over long before, right? So anyway.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think if we, yeah, get better at avoiding blunders and kind of spotting blunders from the opponent at the cost of a little bit of time management, then I think your results will definitely improve.
Yeah.
Because I feel like your gameplay, just from a like strategic standpoint, is really solid. Like you're making good
Oh, thank
moves.
you.
You're fighting for the center. Like all your moves have a clear purpose that I can see. You're not like just misplacing your pieces all over. It's really just I think the tactics that are holding you back. Um, and it not again, it's not your tactical ability. It's a mindset thing. Like during the game, um, like really trying to be concrete every move. Let me give you an example. Let me put a position
Yeah. Yeah.
on the board. Um, just closed one.
No, and it's funny. Chess is so bizarre. I remember early in my chess playing game, I went back through in the analysis, and I turned on the engine finally, at which I'll do after full analysis and all that. And the best move looked like the most unlikely move, and it's because it was literally like rook takes pawn, king takes rook, and you're just down a rook, and then your knight can fork the queen and king. Right. And that was an early lesson in like, oh, well, you have to look at all the moves, buddy. Checks, captures, and threats. The great chess moves come from looking at the ones, look at the greats of chess, right? Fischer and all that, the queen sacrifices and all of that. From the moves that appear the most absurd can be the greatest moves, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so
Um,
this is my game, huh?
this is your game. Yeah, this is just one I noticed. At this point, you've been up a piece for a while, so I'm sure you're completely winning here. And you have, okay,
Oh, this
11
is
and a
the
half
draw.
minutes here.
Oh,
Yeah.
are we just going to cover painful games today? Yes, Steve. That's why we take lessons. Okay, it's fine
So,
then.
well, this could be your redemption story, second chance. What would you do here as white?
This is a little embarrassing. Okay, let me do my job. All right, now I'm into double checking. I'm going to play rook f5 check. Rook takes f5 check.
Cool.
And then he can move to take the bishop. That would probably be the best move. So he can move to right. Okay. And then the question is, do I want to trade or can I do something even more evil? And this is puzzle wrecking time. Well, no, I think I'm happy. I'm just going to trade. There might be something better here, but for my level, I'm just going to take the bishop and be dead winning, and he takes my bishop. And now I've won another pawn, right? He has one pawn left and a rook, and I have two pawns and a rook and a bishop.
Yeah, absolutely. Just taking, and you're more than happy to trade here, because then this kind of simple end game, like you can definitely win this in your sleep against anyone. Against anyone. So
especially this beautiful bishop pawn placement, like you just can't. That can't be touched.
It's like you can't even blunder your bishop here.
As a matter of fact, if I was a real pro, I would think ahead this far and then say, okay, can I take this pawn in time? So he's going to move here, and I'm going to go here. Yeah, I don't. Oh my gosh, I can even put the bishop here and protect it.
Bishop can go to d4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, okay, it's not bad for me.
No, easy win. And there might be other moves. I'm sure the engine gives like 5, 10 different moves here, that are leading to White's advantage, decisive advantage.
Oh wait, there's a pre-move here. Oh, it's not check though. Okay, I was trying to take up this square so we can't get it away, but then the king has to move. This gets gnarly. I still win the pawn though, right? So this is not quite as concrete, right? So he has to move somewhere, and then I move here. So I get to keep my ads. Yeah, I like yours better. I like take.
I'm sure it's just as good. Yeah. But just the simple capture. I mean, that's it. Exactly. Like you don't even need to worry about whether you have something better, because you know this is good enough. You win this. Right. Now, okay, if you have like a mate and 2, that would be nice to find, but there's no mate. And
this is another good argument for equilibrium and mental toughness, because I'll show you what I missed that really upset me. This. And this made my life much harder. So I remember this is, somebody, probably you and other people have said, it's a little bit maybe tongue in cheek, but don't study openings until you're 2000, just do puzzles, right? So sure. I followed the age old advice of begin to move my pawns to the opposite square of the bishop, right? So go back, I push this pawn up, right? Terrible idea, because here's what happened, right? I missed this, and now, how's my king feeling right now? Not so good, and I did it to myself. So the self-loathing meter is extremely high right now. Right, my king has one square to move to. I'm like every move I'm calculating. How can I, is there a way for me to avoid mate? Literally, this move was necessary. Just give up the pawn just so I can get out, right?
Yeah.
And then I end up with a stalemate. I get out. All I had to do was move here. Okay, enough anyway. So the point is, though, I need to work on my mental toughness, right? There are games where I've made a mistake, and I sit down and I say, okay, fine, you made a mistake. Take a deep breath, right? Walk around the room for 30 seconds, get back to work, right? Everybody makes mistakes. That's chess. To play is to err, right? And I've won games that way. I'm like, okay, get back in there, and now just button it up and tighten it down. I didn't do that this game. I didn't reset. So another thing to work on. Yeah,
I mean, you're absolutely right, Steve. Like, I think you're just being too hard on yourself. I remember a Blitz game I was watching you play, where you're the lower rated player, I think by like several hundred points, and you're playing black, and you're worse out of the opening, but you're holding solid. Then your opponent wins a pawn to some tactic, and you keep playing solid. You don't collapse or anything. You just keep making what you feel like is the best move in the position. Your opponent wins a second pawn, but now the time is starting to kind of like tick down. You guys are both under like a minute left, like 2-second increment.
But
you keep solid. Like you don't blunder anything further. You don't like lose a piece or get mated. You just keep trying to make good moves, keep trying to get counterplay.
Oh,
Your opponent
go ahead. Yeah.
simplifies, so now it's like just like a two rook endgame. He's just like two pawns up. But again, you just like keep the tenacity. I think he trades off one pair of rooks. And then finally, your king gets super active, your rook gets super active, and you end up mating the guy.
Exactly. I found him back. I literally put him in check with 12 seconds left, having no idea if it was checkmate. But that's blitz. Just check him and pray, right?
Yeah.
That was.
And so, I mean, that was a game where you made lots of mistakes, I'm sure, but it's like, yeah, I mean, chess is it's a game, right? It's not like a science experiment where like one mistake, like total failure. Um, and
Right. Good
yeah, I
point.
think you maybe have something to think about in terms of the optimism here, because actually most players would see, they blunder this pawn like, oh, that's kind of annoying, but you should still be winning here. You're still up a piece. You shouldn't just be getting mated here just because you blundered one pawn. Now let's go through this one a little bit slower. So here, your opponent goes bishop to g4, and I think we should take a second to think about like what the opponent wants, like bishop f3, rook h1 mate, like very typical pattern. So maybe we should pay attention
Yep.
to a move like king
I
g2.
actually bought a Chessable course, which is about knight and rook. Sorry, bishop and knights working with rooks on mate, like common mating patterns, common chess patterns, I think it's called. You might have recommended, a couple other people did. And it's all about this. I'm terrible at it. So, but now that we're talking, I'm thinking, this is a pretty good move. Like, that's what you call a key diagonal. So I don't know if there's other moves, but I like just owning that diagonal. And
That would be nice. I mean,
oh,
this one's
I'm sorry,
it's
this
covered,
hangs.
yeah, but it would be nice if we
Well,
could.
so,
Um,
so then
okay, so we take
this
bishop
is it.
f3. Now it gets real. There's a mate threat. You find g4,
But
possibly
hang
only
on.
move.
Before this, the point is that the king is incredibly strong. So instead of worrying about the stupid pawn, just play this, and then the bishop can't touch.
Then you have
Right.
no worries here. There, it's like
Because the rook can't come to here. Like, these guys can't coordinate,
yeah,
right? This is the coordination square. So I've
hard.
just taken that away.
Yeah, hard for black to just even create a threat. Like you can give black
Right.
several moves and not much they
Oh,
can
yeah,
do.
here's a nice thing, right? Because, well, Steve, what about going here? Well, this is why the king is ridiculously strong. It's a queen with one square of scope, right? So, oh, that's radioactive. Sorry. So you're not going to, get me in trouble here either, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, lovely. That's
Um,
yeah. And another thing I'm bad at is kings. I don't know if Halvard is in the chat, but I played a really good game, and I didn't stay level and do my job, and I mated him with a queen and a knight mate. It was gorgeous, except after I mated him, he took my knight with his king.
oh,
So we've all been there. You made the guy and the clock doesn't stop, but it was a long game. I just, afterwards, good thing about trading parties, said, hey buddy, he just got excited. He knows me well, right? But
right.
there you go. So understanding the strength of the king at one square away is something I'm still working on. So
Yeah,
there you go.
kind of a tactical thing.
Yeah.
But let's go forward. So
Sure.
we avoid the mate, and then we go rook a5, rook c5, here, bishop f3, and then we see the opponent's threat, and so we very quickly, we played king g3 here. I mean, it was like 1 second off your clock. And so this is, to me, is, I guess, like you would say, like not doing your job. Like
Exactly.
you're just being very reactionary. Like, okay, you see that your opponent has an idea, you just make the most obvious move. But yeah, if you just take like 1 or 2 seconds to do a quick tactics check, you see rook takes f5, rook takes f3, and your job is done. It's game over.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so
Great.
I feel
Perfect.
like, this was a classical game for you, so it's not like we're in heavy time trouble. But if this is happening in classical, then it's definitely happening in rapid. I saw a few examples of it. And so
This was
it's,
a game?
yeah, 30 plus 8.
Oh, on Lichess.
Yeah.
You looked on Lichess too. Cool. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And right, so this is, I think, just a shift in mindset. This is like, yeah, we need to do like a tactics check every game, or every move, and then like a check for the opponent.
Yep.
And main drawback, okay, it takes time, but you know, your opponents are going to blunder something most games. I mean, there's going to be something to calculate in every game, but your opponents will straight up hang something, I believe, in almost every game you play.
Well, and
So
especially,
you will
go
have
ahead, sorry.
opportunities. Yeah.
Yep. And especially when they're losing, right? I mean, the thing that I used to have, like, I went through my cheating rant phase. Those of you, or quite a few of you, will remember that, right? And I think that the problem is not that there are so many cheaters out there. The problem is that when people start to lose, a lot of them play better. So I've heard this from more than one person, probably you too at some point, that, just be aware that when people start to lose, their focus goes up. And when you start to win, you can become complacent, right? So I heard one GM or somebody, it might have been you, say, you have to like triple the amount of effort you're putting in when you're ahead, because the other guy's going to play better. And your tendency is to get lazy and say, here's some dangerous phrases from chess. I got this. This is winning, right? Those are phrases you want to be very careful of, right?
Yeah. Well, two reasons. I thought you were talking about the opponent starts losing, so they take their engine out. And I was
Oh,
gonna
no, no,
say,
no, no, nothing to do with cheating. They just start to play better, not because they turn an engine on, just because they're like, I'm a cornered animal now, right?
yeah,
They just
exactly.
they're like they are focused. People, that's what my coach said. People, a lot of people play their best chess right before they're going to get mated. I had a game like this where I blundered, I got a pawn down, but it was decisive, and I played perfect chess from there to the end of the game and still lost. So once I saw I was worse, whatever loose, sloppy mistakes I had made, I was real focused, and it was too late, right? But
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's another big part of it. And I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, players, not everyone,
that
some
makes sense
players
to
they
you.
just collapse when they like get a bad position, but lots of players, yeah, they just try to hunker down, and the game of chess becomes very simple. It's like opponent makes a threat, you defend against the threat, right? You don't have to worry about like you don't have the difficulty of choice. When you have a good position, you can do anything you want. Here, it's like your king is under attack. You're about to get mated. You have to make only move to survive. You just do it, and then you hope for the best. So yeah, definitely a big problem for people when they're trying to convert positions is kind of relaxing, and not necessarily just because the opponent doesn't even have to play better. Just relaxing means we're not looking for tactics. We're not looking for the most concrete stuff,
Mm.
and
But wait, that
that can
doesn't
lead to
make sense.
mistakes.
That doesn't make sense to me, if you don't mind, because here's a perfect example. This is a beautiful example of how chess is double-edged, right? So, okay, you need to make sure that you're not going to get mated or put into perpetual, right? But just play the board. So, okay, candidate moves. One is avoid, one is move the king to g3 to avoid the check, threat and losing your bishop, right? Okay, that's one candidate move. What are the other candidate moves? Well, checks, captures, and threats. So, knight c6 doesn't look that interesting, but wow, gee, knight f5 sure does. And then, right, you're just doing your job. Like, there's
Yeah,
a couple candidate moves. One is defensive, one is offensive. And it turns out that the one that, nothing, we're just good offense is going to be good defense here, right? Play the move, destroy the bishop, vaya con Dios,
yeah.
right?
So what I'm saying is that
Do the
it's
job. So
when
what
we
is that? I'm
relax,
sorry.
this
Yeah.
is when we just make moves like king g3, because it's like you're you're up a piece, you should be winning. The opponent has one obvious check, so you just move your king out of the way. It's like a zero calculation move, right? It's like, okay, you're just avoiding the check, you gain a tempo on their
Yeah.
bishop. So this is where the relaxedness can really
Oh,
hurt someone,
yes, exactly.
because
Exactly.
you
Oh,
kind
I
of just
got this. Yeah,
play
that's right.
casually. Yeah. And then, yeah, of course, you unfortunately get punished
That's
for it.
exactly.
And then we realize too late that black has a lot of checks and no way to escape because of rook g4. So unfortunate, but okay. Hopefully, it kind of gives you a sense of what we should be, let's say, focused on during the game. I would
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
would say that would be my main my main goal for you is just, yeah, doing the tactics check, doing the blunder check, because I think your strategy, your gameplay, it's all very fine, like very solid. Again, like beyond your level. But of course, if we slip up a lot tactically, then it undoes all of the
It's
work.
it's amazing. That's why do your job is the top of my cheat sheet. Because when I do my job, I win. Maybe not all my games, but 80% or something like
Sure.
that, right? And that's why I play better. Like I play these, sometimes I get to play better players in the second game. I send you as my practice game against Rosenberg, and of course, eventually I slipped up the pressure of those guys. But you too. I played you. That's super. Yeah, short games. So you make one mistake and it's over. But I made it like 23 moves, and the engine says we're even, right? Because I am super focused. And it's a thrill. I'm at Wimbledon. You don't have to tell me to do my job. It's like an honor, right?
Right.
So when you're playing a guy on the court with the grass growing up through the weeds and the chain link fence, still got to do your job, right?
Yeah,
So
and a lot of players have experienced that where they feel like they play better against higher rated opposition because I think they're a little bit more focused. I think that is why.
right,
Because like you're
it's
gonna get
not just
punished, so you're like being very, very cautious, and then that actually ends up making you a better player. Actually, I learned. I remember I used to get butterflies before playing, so I would get a little nervous, especially before a big game.
higher
Um,
rated or low. Everybody. I mean, just what did it depend who the opponent was?
So I think it was either if I was playing like a high rated player, I would get nervous, or like a strong player, or if it was like, the last round of a tournament and it's like an important game, like I might
Oh
be
yeah.
playing for like a trophy or something. Then I read that having butterflies is actually kind of a good thing because it means like you're going to kind of tense up a little bit, but you're also going to be very cautious about blundering. And I found that in a lot of those games where I had the butterflies, like I would play better. Whereas in other games when I was a youth, I would just like,
Oh,
blunder a pawn in the opening, right? Just like be moving casually, and then like I blunder something, and then I wake up and like, uh-oh, like time to start playing.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly. I've
but
lost games
being a
because
little bit nervous, I think, can actually be in your favor.
yeah, like it
Um,
would help me if I could pretend that every 1350 I was playing was a young Magnus Carlsen on the way up, right? That would help me, right? But anyway, just one of the many psychological challenges that chess presents, right? It's a head game, as much as anything else.
yeah,
The puzzles we talked about and that being helpful. I don't know if we were on the air yet, but whatever. Are there any books you would recommend or any other things you would recommend me adding to my training regimen? Um, More pancakes would be great. Anything like that, or
the one thing I would say is I would love for you to be going through annotated games. So anything by like Chernev or Sarawan, um, John
Sarah
Nunn.
writing I love. So what? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sorry, I'll get John Nunn wrote a great book that I like called Understanding Chess Move by Move, with
Okay.
a bunch of like annotated games.
Are these on the dojo list somewhere? I'm just, or am I on the, otherwise I'll write it down or we can message
Um,
after. I don't want to miss this. So.
yeah, I have a list of recommendations on our Patreon page that's actually open to
Oh,
everyone.
great. Okay.
I'm sure these books are listed there.
I'm a Patreon. I'm a Patreon dude. I'm in the
Nice.
house with that. Okay, great.
And yeah, I would say that's kind of the only thing I thought because I really like what you're doing in terms of working with training partners and just playing and analyzing games. You're obviously doing the tactics, and you mentioned Sam's book that you're going to get back to. I think is really good. Um, Sarah Wan's Winning Chess Endings, I think, is also a nice book.
But
But
that's not
yeah,
the game book you were talking.
I
Oh,
would
there's a list. Never mind. I'll look at the list. I'm sorry.
yeah, I would encourage you to go through a book of annotated games because that's gonna really help you just kind of like learn more ideas about the middle game and coming out of the opening, how to play different positions, how to make
Great.
decisions at the chessboard. It's just gonna be good for your overall uh, chess understanding. I would say that's
Okay.
the long term project for you. Short term, just like lots of tactics and thinking more tactically in your games. I think you'll see improvement from that. But long term, studying like master games, annotated games, that's how you kind of build yourself up as a chess
Even
player.
like GM games, that's not too advanced for me. Like, are you talking about, are these books covering like players that are just a little better than me?
No, I think in terms of it being advanced for you, I think that's more has to do with the annotations and not so much the players involved. Like you can annotate Magnus's games and make them very accessible just by not
Okay,
going super deep into all the intricacies, right? Because it's really just about um, introducing yourself to different ways of playing different positions,
right.
right? So you
Like
have
it's
some Sicilian, some Rui Lopez, and like here White chose this plan, Black made
right.
this move, this was bad because of this. And, you just try to learn like three things per game, and you're well on your
Right.
way.
And in Sam's book, I will freely admit that his mainline conversations, I can follow all of those. Sometimes he goes into these sidelines and I can't even follow them. Like I have to set up a board to play the main line out. I
Right.
literally have, it takes me an hour a page, at least half an hour a page. Right. And then he's got these separate lines. And by the way, as a sideline, have you heard? I mean, it's the way you talk too about these. You can just talk a chess position. I'm like, I'm going to skip that part, right? It's just so that's kind of your point. I'm following the part that is appropriate for my level,
Yeah.
and it's still gonna take me 50 hours to read the book. So yeah,
But I think that's a great way to do it. And his
okay.
examples, I think, are really accessible. And yeah, like you don't have to go through and comb through every detailed variation. A lot of it is just like concrete stuff. Like just in this exact position, the engine shows this idea and it works because of this, this, and this. It doesn't really have a whole lot to do with the main example he's often trying to present, which
Yeah,
is
and it's
just
above
like,
my head, right?
yeah,
Like I start the paragraphs like sorry, yeah, let's just move on. But I got a lot out of this page from the main line, and let's just go, right?
yeah.
So
So that's an example of a book with like lots of little like annotated examples. Helstein is another author who really likes this approach where he just throws like excerpts at you, just like little examples and 10 different examples on like one topic. But I think, yeah,
I
there's
like the
always room
games
for
idea.
studying the full game just to see how
Exactly, I love
everything kind of built out.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of that. That sounds really nice.
Yeah.
And I love opening. I love studying openings, as you know, because I have graduate credit. So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. Which okay, you'll definitely get some opening understanding out of that approach as well.
yeah. By the way, everyone, it's pronounced Scheveningen, not Scheveningen. I finally learned that thanks to, I believe Henry told me that. So
That's pretty good.
yeah, one of my favorites. I love play. I don't get to play very often, but against English Tech, that's a lot of fun. Anyway.
Nice.
Oh,
Okay. Well, I think we'll end it there. Thanks for joining me. I hope you
that was tremendous. Thank
found
you
this
so much,
useful.
Costa. And
Awesome.
everyone, Costa and I had never talked in person. I'd sent him, 40,000 annoying messages in chat, never spoken live. So that was fun. So thank you very much, Costa. Very much appreciated.
Absolutely. I wish you the best of luck. I look forward to seeing you in more of our tournaments, seeing your
You
rating
bet.
go up. I'm sure it will. And
I don't care about rating at all.
good.
Did that work at all? Yeah, and you're right. Okay. Thanks so much, Costa. Take care.
Cool. I'm gonna stay on for a sec, talk to chat,
Great.
but I'll see you next time.
I'll jump into the chat. I'm going to make a little donation to thank you. Is that cool to say? Anyway, so what do you do? # donate or something?
We have a link. There's a donate button under the stream. You can also
Oh,
go
there it
to
is. I got it. Okay, beautiful.
streamlabs.com.
All
Yeah.
right, thanks. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll join chat. All right,
Cool.
bye bye.
See y'all
Thanks
soon.
again. Bye.
All right, guys. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the lesson. I know I did. I thought it had some good stuff. If you missed part of it, I think we're going to start putting up our lessons on our second YouTube channel, which, if I'm not mistaken, is youtube.com/chessdojo live. We have our main channel, which is youtube.com/chessdojo. Our second channel, youtube.com/chessdojo live, which has more of our streams, because we've long gone from putting everything on the main YouTube. But if you want to check out some old streams, you should follow that channel. We also have it linked down below, but I'll put a link in the chat for anyone who wants to check it out. Okay, so yeah, a couple of announcements, guys, and then I'm gonna get out of here. We have a couple of big events coming up this Sunday. We've got a sub battle 10:30 a.m. against Anna Rudolph that we need some players for. If you want to register for that, if you can play Sunday 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, it's going to be like 10:30 to 12. Then sign up for our roster on Arena. There's a link, arena.gl/chessdojo. So I think we still need a handful of players. It's going to be like every 200 points in terms of the rating ranges, like 600 to 800, 800 to 1,000, and so on. So we need a few players for that. That's going to be on Sunday. Make sure to sign up if you would like to play. Then after that, we're going to be doing a big rapid match with Team Europe against Team North America. Time control for the sub battle is going to be 3+2, which is that's the main time control for all the sub battles in the battle league that we're in. But after that, we're going to have a rapid match, which is going to be 15+5. And we're going to be doing just a big match, Europe versus North America, which is going to be a ton of players. Because North America includes Team US, Team Canada, and Team Latin America. Team Europe is obviously very big. So if you want to play for that, you can sign up via the Discord. That's the easiest way. But there's also a Google form you can use. Although I think we have to update this now. I think the best way to sign up for it is through the Discord, because there's a specific chess.com club you got to join for either Team Europe or Team North America, and it's all linked there in the schedule of events channel. So yeah, if you go to Discord, go to schedule events, you'll see all the info there. The two chess.com clubs, one of which you have to join if you would like to play. And so yeah, and then we even see the players that are kind of planning to play there as well. Yeah, Team UK is invited to join Team Europe. Yeah, that's how we're gonna handle it. Although people are free to play for whatever team they feel represented by. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, as far as the lessons go, I think we're going to bring them back at some point. We might change the exact structure of how we do the redeem, but we will be bringing back lessons as soon as we just get through our little backlog. We have like a bunch of players that have been patiently waiting. So yeah, I'm going to be trying to knock some out. I'll be doing another lesson tomorrow, actually, with Holgilde. That's going to be Friday at, I believe, 12 p.m. Pacific time. So I'll be doing another one and then continuing next week. And yeah, and then we have the Chess Punk Awards coming up tomorrow night, which is going to be a short stream, but it's going to be fun. We're going to have Neil Bruce here, and Andres Toth is going to be joining us as well. And let's see what else. Oh, and we got Friday Night Ladder coming back up, which is going to be hosted by AFM Hughes, who's in the chat, or was in the chat. And he's going to be, okay, our ladder command is gone. He's going to be following ladder games. So if you're playing any ladder games tomorrow night, you can get your game streamed on the channel. The Chess Punks is a Twitter community, basically of like adult chess improvers. That are all very supportive of each other. And as far as I can see, there's something like 50 to 100 members of this group. they all use the hashtag chesspunks. Neil Bruce is kind of the de facto leader of the chesspunks. And yeah, they basically they kind of post their training plans. They are often discussing like different ways of training and like reviewing books and courses that they're going through. Basically, just like very supportive crowd. You know, there's lots of players in it who like picked up chess in the last year and like have never played like an over the board tournament, and so they're often talking about like over the board etiquette and things like that. And so yeah, this guy Neil Bruce, he set up this awards show because the hashtag has been around for a couple of years now, and they're going to be awarding like I don't even remember the categories, but it's like best. I think it's like best game played by a chess punk, most like supportive chess punk, kind of like a nice little award show where that we'll be presenting tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific time. So that'll be fun. Yeah. Okay. I think that's everything I have for right now. We have lots more videos coming to our YouTube channel, so look forward to those. Join the Discord if you haven't already, and you want to stay up to date on all of our events and stuff. And yeah, I think that's it for me. I'm gonna find someone to raid, and then I will catch you guys later. Ooh, St. Louis Rapid and Blitz is happening right now. Yeah, we got to raid someone who's doing that. Yeah, absolutely, guys. All right, we're gonna rate Kasparov Chess because they're streaming the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz super high level event. So enjoy.